Good morning. And I'm on YouTube. I'm on Respect. I'm waiting for these commissioners to go live. I don't know if they will. We'll see. I don't know if they will go live because they were supposed to be live before. This is the ancient Druid equinox sounds, nature sound retreat on YouTube for those on X. And it's just one of those mornings where they were live earlier, then they cut off their live. They went into closed session. I am with the Washington County, Maryland County Commissioners meeting. They generally go live on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is Mars Day, and we have the season of Mars, which is Aries season. So we just entered Aries season on the 20th on Friday. And I'm just gonna wait for them to go live. Astrologically very creative. So with all that creative energy, there is a lot happening in our personal lives. But again, nature, what we have happening personally is also happening politically, is also, there's layers to this. So I have my tea. I am just kind of waiting for them, but to recap of the astrology, I do have a video on the spring equinox from last week. But on March 20th, the sun entered Aries at 10:46 a.m. That is Eastern Standard Time, and that was the energy of our equinox. And then Mercury, who was retrograde, went direct on the same day at 3:33 p.m. That is the Eastern Standard Time. And then this week, notably, there's not a lot of transits, but we do have a very creative energy influencing us in the sky. So I think that there's an astrologer who has an amazing video on this. Her name is Molly McClure, and she is on YouTube, and I think on Spotify and all the other places. She has a strong video on what Saturn sextile Pluto represents, but I'm going to note it here, it's called an aspect, where think of it as like the skipping sign aspect. So we're like Saturn is at 5 degrees of Aries, you skip one sign, and at 5 degrees Aquarius, Pluto sits. So the way I look at this this aspect is complete creativity. And so that is like, do your creative projects, but it's also just being in creative flow. Now, Pluto is power. So it is about putting power to your creative projects, your creative rebirth in a lot of ways. And I actually pulled a card for the week, which was about collective awakening. And I do think that this is the card of collective awakening. There are enlightening aspects in the sky as well. So we just have to kind of trust that these enlightening aspects are really here for our own good. And I'm going to refresh the page because sometimes the live stream does not show up. They were live for 35 minutes when they went, or for 25 minutes earlier this morning. I don't know if they were doing their video equipment or what, but it does not look like they are live. So if they don't go live, I'm going to be kind of sad. There's been some updates to what's going on here in Maryland, and I'm going live with them because personally I am on the autism spectrum, and I have to recalibrate what my form of activism is for me, because as I unmask autism, which has been an ongoing, look is right in the middle. This is the collective awakening card. I have to recalibrate what that means for my energy. I do find a lot of times in certain communities, the cause is there, and then it becomes something related to one-ups, like competition in a lot of ways. And as somebody who is on the spectrum, I see patterns right before, like, so I just want to, I'm an intuitive tarot card reader, an intuitive astrologer. It's very hard for me to be around crowds of people, let alone even go to the grocery store these days. So I'm doing what I can do. It's not perfect, but it's what I can do at this time. So I don't necessarily think that what I'm doing is going to have a big impact on anything, but I think that energy is very important, and the way that we use our energy is very valuable. So I'm recalibrating how I look at activism, because I'm an old timer at this point, and I've seen a lot of movements in the United States, and participated through my union at the time in Occupy Wall Street, and you know just several movements throughout the years, protested against Iraq Afghanistan war, and I'm seeing a familiar pattern arise now. This time it's even scarier, because we have these data centers, we have these concentration camps, call it what they are, and I just really, really don't want this in any town. I'm doing what I can do right now with the brain that I was given, and a lot of times, I'm going to be 100 on these videos. Last week I was on here and I was pushing through, the pain of just existing on this planet. But at the end of the day, the humanitarian side of this is these are concentration camps, and Maryland continues to delay this process. So I want to shout out people who are doing less woo-woo work than me, that are very boots on the ground, grassroots work. Project Saltbox, they are on Substack. Hagerstown Rapid Response, they have a petition email that you can sign up for on change.org. They actually put out an email, and I asked them for confirmation if I could share their email or share the email they sent out. So there's actually a public forum. Washington County deserves a voice, call for public town hall and ICE facility. This is their response for March 23rd, 2026. Closed door meetings are not enough. Washington County residents want answers in public. Before reading our letter to Governor Wes Moore and Representative Laney, watch this. They have a video link on their change.org petition, and this is to Wes Moore of Maryland, and they're asking, thank you for your plans to visit Hagerstown and hold a community roundtable. That was yesterday, I believe. Don't quote me there. And press availability to address concerns about planned U.S. Immigration and Customs ICE enforcement detention facility in Washington County. We appreciate your work and that of our Maryland officials, including the Office of Attorney General, to pursue litigation to halt construction and operation of the unlawful ICE detention facility in Washington County, and applaud the OAG's swift and successful work obtaining a temporary restraining order, so they delayed the process. The OAG included a comment letter of several Washington County community organizations in Exhibit 1. So this is from, you can go to their change.org petition. And it's March 10th emergency motion citing concerns about the strain of the planned facility could pose on local resources. So this has to do with like water and electricity, these type of resources on the county itself. As you know, Washington County communities have actively opposed the planned ICE detention center, holding multiple protests outside the Washington County of Maryland Board of County Commissioners, BOCC. So the only way people are heard in these commissioner hearings generally are through protests, because public comment is not allowed. Although last week they had public comment on one of their items, which people were able to discuss regarding 911, where a woman named Tosh Smith, who is running for county commissioner, was discussing, she has a whole letter on her Facebook page. Tosh Smith, a lot of their local pages are through Facebook. They are actually not, this is how small this town is. They don't really have a lot other than Facebook. So it's kind of difficult, but her mic got cut and she stood her ground. She's the president of the NAACP in Hagerstown or Washington County, and she is running. So I hope she wins. I am not affiliated with anybody. I'm not even a resident of this county, but this is part of where, I grew up in Maryland. This is my hometown, my home state. So going back to this letter, let me just kind of forward. Despite the planned ICE detention facility in Williams, so it's like a tiny town next to Washington County. These are like little farm towns. Despite the planned ICE detention facility in Williamsport gaining national attention, there is a severe lack of public forums for Washington County and Maryland residents to express their views on this facility that will impact our community so drastically. We at Hagerstown Rapid Response call on you to additionally hold a public town hall on this topic so all voices in the Washington County community with concerns about the planned detention center can be heard. And I absolutely agree with this. And then they say, we appreciate your attention to this request and look forward to hearing from you. And then sincerely, Hagerstown Rapid Response. There's other there's Cat Ladies for America. She is on Instagram. She also does incredible work. Again, I am not affiliated, so I know that I am woo-woo and a little bit more conspiro leaning, so please do not put any of the things I say on any of the people that I share, because I think it's important for these people's accounts to be looked at, especially they're doing more community-based work, and I'm doing astrology and tarot. But one thing that I recognize is, like, over the years, I have looked back at things that I have been looking at, and I realize, you know what, trust my intuition as well. So I'm going live. I don't know how it's going to sound on, this is the first time I'm ever bringing this to my
open dialogue between our agencies and expressed a desire to maintain ongoing communication and collaboration.
On their
future meetings
Facebook page, they only go live on their Facebook.
And the county commissioners of Washington County are committed to ensuring that residents have all available information as it becomes available. We also understand that a meeting was held yesterday that was scheduled by Congresswoman April McLean Delaney by invitation only. The Board of County Commissioners was not invited to that roundtable discussion of community leaders.
Wow.
That's everything that I have for today.
Point of clarification. On the March 16th meeting, it was stated the Board of County Commissioners. It wasn't the full board. It was only, were you able to name the people who attended that meeting?
I sure can. So the attendees of that meeting were Commission President John Barr, myself as the County Administrator, Zach Kiefer, our County Attorney, Sheriff Brian Albert, and Colonel Pete Lozage.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the public hearing, but that's not scheduled to 9:30. So we need to make sure that we hold off till exactly 9:30. Can we move forward on any of the other agenda items prior to next 15 minutes?
If the Red Cross is here, we could do that. I'm not sure if they're here yet.
I don't think anyone's here from Red Cross. I don't see.
Let's take a recess.
Yeah.
They just started.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else, I guess. So
Why don't you guys ask for people to just bring up their shoes? This is tough, you guys. This is
okay,
tough.
take a recess.
Yeah.
In light of the fact it's almost 15 minutes of recess, I'm going to have to ask, I guess, we clear the room. Okay. We'll reconvene at 9:30 for the public hearing.
Wow. They just on recess until 9:30. This is tough. So energetically, I just feel, and I'll just go to main screen. Energetically, I feel like in the United States, I'm just going to pull some cards. And I feel like in the United States, a lot of these county hearings, this is where stuff like this happens. A lot of these county meetings are being infiltrated. I do feel like on this specific, I'm going to share something from Project Saltbox that was also brought to light. I actually first heard of it through Hagerstown Rapid Response. I'm going to share an email on that. But I do think that a lot of these county commissioner hearings, or a lot of these counties, were infiltrated. And here's why. They had a prominent member on their commissioner board who served under the Trump administration in like intel, basically. And when I looked up his stat, when I looked up what he did, he's literally on like these very conservative political shows, morning shows, talking about Iran. I'm like, why is somebody talking about Iran that's now like, what's going on here? And all of a sudden, here's this detention facility. Obviously, these are my personal intuition, not facts, not proven. I'm a tarot reader. I'm an astrologer. Or I do tarot, I do astrology. We are, but I'm just feeling like this has been with both these data centers and these detention facilities, that this is like an infiltration within these small town, county, little boards. Like they're getting people in there that can do it. And that's just what my intuition is saying. And I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. And I'm just going to see what spirit, the action plan, the two of light codes, two of wands. There's like a direction here. Two of wands is like a direction forward. So I'm wondering if what America is seeing right now, especially we had Valero. Now I know a lot of these refineries are constantly on fire. They're not like they're not safe. But this oil refinery that is on fire in Texas is very much of concern. We also have these meteors that are being seen across the United States. Ohio, last night was Michigan, Oregon, another one in Ohio, I think. So let me just ask, actually, I'm going to ask first about the meteors. When they go live again, I'll bring up the email, the more localized email. Be in it, not of it. So I'm definitely in an of it mood. So this is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is like the change or the Wheel of Life in this particular deck. So I'm just asking about the meteors, and it's almost like take the observers, like observe it, but don't try and stress about it. Don't think that it's... So let me just pull another card. What else do we need to know about these meteors? 9:30, they said it's 9:21. The Priestess of Activations. Okay, so I am going to share a story. Let me see if I can find it on my X and just look up the boom. So on... Here we go. Justin Burke is a meteorologist. Justin Weather is his page. He is meteorologist, Baltimore. This is Baltimore, Maryland. College professor. He has a page on X. But there are these loud booms in Maryland 2 days in a row. And I saw Mr. MB333, who's also on X. He's like a sky watcher, saying there's booms elsewhere around the country, I think in Tennessee. So the 20th comes around, right? And I'm like watching the sky. I'm like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Intuitively, what's going to happen? And it's part of this card here. The Queen, this is the Priestess of Activations, the Queen of Swords. So we think of like a sword in the ground. We think of like this, I think of lightning, right? Okay, so I don't know a lot about lightning. And around 10:47 p.m., so that is exactly 12 hours after. So the sun entered Aries at 10:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And at 10:47:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 hours later, there is this boom heard around both Maryland, and the report was coming out of Loudoun County, Virginia, which is very close by. So people heard this boom, they got it on their Ring cams, and it was linked to this lightning strike, but it was called a superbolt, which I've never heard of a superbolt, so we'll get into that in a moment. And the point that they saw this, like where they saw it on the map, is a place called Marleau Ridge in Jefferson, Maryland, which is in Frederick County, Maryland. Now, yes, it's a local thing, but I intuitively was like, there's something to this superbolt where it struck. So I put in the coordinates of Marleau Ridge, Maryland, to see what this place is. And it is a camp. And it is a retreat center and a camp. And let me read their thing. Camp and retreat center. About us, the Marleau Ridge, mission and history. Marleau Ridge is a year-round outdoor ministry of Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Now, look, their mission statement: rooted in Christ, we become all to encounter God's love through sacred hospitality, deepening relationships, and center for creation. They do camps, they do weddings, all this stuff. So yes, very, for the super Christians out there. And so I looked on the map of where Marleau Ridge is, and I zoomed out to kind of get a better idea of where this lightning struck. So this lightning struck in a very interesting place. It's near a place called Point of Rock, which is where the C&O Canal is, off of the Potomac River. Now, the Potomac River is having issues in the lower section of the Potomac. There's like there's like a giant sewage leak going in basically into the bay, and essentially it would be going into the ocean. So the other part about this is, let me zoom out of the map. Is it near? It's not really near the Monocacy battlefield. It could be, it's not even near Camp David. Things that I would be looking for is like, what battlefield is it associated with? Because this is an area that's very historically connected to the Civil War. Historically, up in this region, Frederick County is where the president has a supposed bunker. And there's different things that I kind of look at. But what kind of stood out to me is Point of Rocks, Maryland. And Point of Rocks is like where all three states meet. So West Virginia, Maryland, and Virginia. And Point of Rocks, Maryland, what? So I have like 3 minutes until this meeting starts. So the Piscataway Indian Nation, or the native tribe associated as the Piscataway, and that is something that really stood out to me with this lightning strike, because this was a tribe that was here that essentially got kind of kicked out of Maryland, or at least this region of Maryland. And I kind of felt like a couple of different things. So I didn't know what a superbolt was, so I'm going to talk about it. Superbolts are rare and extremely powerful lightning strikes, up to 1,000 miles more energetic than the typical lightning. This is through Google. Capable of being observed from space. What are superbolts? They're associated a rare type of lightning discharge that release colossal amounts of energy, often exceeding 100 gigajoules compared to about a 1 gigajoule for a typical lightning bolt, making them 100 to 1,000 times more powerful than the ordinary lightning. They were first identified in the 1970s and have since been studied using modern satellites and ground-based networks. Their brightness is so intense that they can be detected from space, and they generally generate very strong electromagnetic waves that extend into a very low frequency range, reaching beyond Earth's atmosphere. So and then generally they are observed. Superbolts are extremely rare, making up less than 1% of all lightning strikes. Observations show clustering over the Northeast Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Altiplano in Peru and Bolivia, among other regions. They occur more often in the winter and over water, which is opposite to the seasonal and geographic patterns of regular lightning. So I thought that was interesting that happened 12 hours after the exact time, pretty much to almost, it was like a minute after the exact time of the equinox. I'm still on this live meeting, waiting for them to go live. They said they would be live at 9:30. It's 9:30. And I just was like, is this a sign? Be it that there have been these sightings of meteors. And the next day, I feel
Public hearing, application for zoning map amendment, RZ 25-010. and I have a statement to read here. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. Staff will introduce the matter. Next, the applicant, having the burden of proof, will present their application
Say hello.
and evidence. Following the applicant's presentation, the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a
Here's
maximum of
guardians
3
right
minutes
here.
to testify. Testimony shall be limited only to proposed map amendment.
I do think the divine
Testimony
feminine
that
is
is
part
not
of this.
relevant to the map
Origin
amendment
from light.
or that which is repetitive,
I think the
disruptive,
lightning,
or otherwise impedes the orderly
was
conduct of this
like
public
what the
hearing
Key Bridge
will
was.
not be
When the
tolerated.
Key Bridge fell down in Baltimore, I said this.
Unauthorized
20,
remarks,
what is it,
loud
23?
noises, whistles,
That was
yells,
not what
or
was about to
similar
happen.
disruptions from the gallery shall not
Maryland
be
has
permitted.
something here.
Anyone who fails to follow these rules
I'm not
forfeits their
I'm not
opportunity to
saying Maryland's
testify
like the
and
state,
will be asked to
but I'm saying
return
Maryland's
to their
history
seat
represents
or leave the meeting.
something.
Once
that
public
they're
comment has concluded,
Do I know
the
what it
hearing
is?
will close. There shall
That's
be
why
no
it's real
donating of
words.
or pooling of time to allow any one person to speak longer than 3 minutes.
I'm
After
history.
everyone
Gotta
wishes to
say.
speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners
I'm just
may
glad I
then
apologized
discuss
for
the
it.
issue and provide direction to staff. Would everyone who plans to testify today, will you please stand to take the oath?
Okay, they're testifying on.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the responses given and the statements made will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
With that, I'm going to ask Kayla Shingleton, Comprehensive Planner, Planning and Zoning, will now introduce the matter.
Can they mic their people? They never mic people.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, there we go. Sorry. This is RZ 25-10. This is a rezoning text amendment for the property at 20511 Leitersburg Pike for applicants David and Jessica Testa. The property is a 29-acre parcel zoned agricultural rural, only 3 acres of which are subject to the rezoning. This rezoning will be an expansion of an established rural business which sits in front of the proposed rezoning. The proposed rezoning will be used as a display and storage lot for the already existing trailer sales on the abutting property. The rural
This is like
business
rezoning.
zoning district is established to permit the continuation and development of businesses to support the agricultural industry and farming community, serve the needs of the
Which is
rural
why this community
residential
was started.
population,
Put it in
provide for
DHS
recreation and
because it
tourism
is a farming
opportunities,
town.
establish locations for businesses and facilities not otherwise permitted in the rural areas of the county. It is established as a floating zone which may be located on any parcel in agricultural, environmental, conservation, preservation, or rural village zoning district. The factors to be considered in a request for the creation of a new RB zoning district are listed in Article 5E of the Washington County Zoning Ordinance. RB districts must designate a specific type of land use they wish to pursue at the location in the application materials and demonstrate the proposed use will be compatible with the existing neighborhood which surrounds it.
My cards are right.
Based on staff analysis in the applicant's justification statement, staff believes there is sufficient evidence the criteria outlined in Article 5E of the
Age of
zoning
Aquarius,
ordinance
the star.
has been met for the application of a rural business floating zone to the subject area. This rezoning was presented to the Washington County Planning Commission at a public information meeting held on during the regular meeting on December 1st, 2025. At that meeting, the members unanimously recommended in favor of the proposed map amendment. There's been no public comments have in favor or opposition of this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will now hear from the applicant's case in chief.
Return of the Mother Tree.
Good morning, Mr. Wantz, how are you?
I think that is definitely related to the family of us on this planet. I really wish they would mic people.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Turned off. Now it's back on. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
My name is William C. Wantz. I represent Mr. and Mrs. David Testa. They're with me this morning. Also with me this morning is Aaron Schroyer. He's the owner of the subject property. Mr. Schroyer is the owner of a farm I'll go through the exhibits momentarily. He has been leasing part of his farm, an amount of land comprising 3 acres.
There's people protesting outside.
This existing trailer dealership. This type of trailer is the type that farmers would use, people with landscaping businesses would use.
You can hear people
It's currently
protesting.
zoned AR, but we've applied to, the farm is currently owned AR. The trailer business is currently zoned RB. It was zoned RB several years ago in the comprehensive RB rezoning. We're now looking to expand that. Mr. Testa will testify this morning of the success that he's had in the business. And what I want to do in my brief presentation this morning is to go over the handout in the exhibits.
It's a good guy.
It will ask to be admitted into the record. Formally, I would ask that our justification statement, our application, all the attachments to the justification statement and application are offered into evidence. I ask that they be marked and so admitted. I'll go through those briefly.
Imagine
And I would
place
say, I've
the
been sworn and I would
concentration camp
indicate that all
where
of the
their
factual
job is
statements
to
in the application.
zone whether a trailer is in the right place
If you
and
look at
registered
the
under.
packet, on the application, the first page, we're only dealing with 3 acres. It's zoned AR, it'll be rezoned if you so determined.
This is
to
what a
RB.
county commissioner's
That's a
job is.
floating zone, so we don't have to show any change or mistake criteria as we would
Talking with
in
Trump.
non-floating zone rezonings. The owner's representative
I'll
affidavit
talk
is
to in a
present.
moment.
As far as
There's a
compatibility,
review.
Mr. Schroyer owns property both behind and on both sides of this 3-acre tract. And of course, the Testas own the property that comprises the existing dealership in the front. So it's surrounded on all 4 sides by property that's compatible and supportive of this application. Next is the justification statement.
The
This
fact that
includes
they
all
have
of
to
the
go through this
criteria
much
necessary for
justification to have a
approve
trailer on
RB
his
floating zone
lot
under the
to
pertinent
do
provisions
2
of the
different
zoning ordinance.
zonings.
Next, I want to go through and
Yet
highlight some of
there's
the
no
exhibits.
public commentary
First of all,
on
the
a
current comprehensive
concentration
plan
camp.
is
Banana.
consistent with this undertaking. Economic
Truly
development strategies
something.
needed to sustain and expand existing businesses are among the economic strategies in the adopted plan. And the plan specifically places emphasis on, and I quote, increasing efforts to retain and expand existing business. This is right in the heart of this rezoning. Next is the drawing by Lee Royer showing the existing area in crosshatched and the proposed addition to the rural business district zoning in the back. That's the 3-acre parcel. This was originally a used car dealership. That's how it became RB initially. The next is the chart showing all of the other businesses, including Myers Motors, that were rezoned to RB in the 2014 comprehensive zoning. Next are a map and enlargement showing the neighborhood, and we would ask that the neighborhood the village along with the linear commercial and mixed commercial development along that segment of Leitersburg Pike in about a half a mile in each direction. Next, you'll see a picture showing where the Estes property sits, and behind that,
High priestess is out.
behind that into both sides, the Schroyer farm. Next is a property graphic showing the Royer Farm in the context of the Freedom Trailers business along Leitersburg
There's a
Highway.
deep
Next are two photographs showing the
power,
existing lot, and you'll see the open
intention.
field in the back there. That's
And when that lightning
the
struck,
area
I
of
was like,
rezoning.
why didn't it just move a
And
little bit
approximately
more
tree
towards
line.
Hagerstown?
The rest of the photos depict the commercial character.
But I saw
of
it
the
as a
neighborhood in
sign
which the
from
proposed
the
rezoning
goddess
is.
or the high priestess
Present.
that
And
she's got our
finally, in the
back,
packet,
no matter what.
representative
She's got
sampling
our
of
back.
some of the typical customers taken from Mrs. Testa's assemblage of business cards over the years.
So next
With that,
day,
I'll ask Mr. Testa to
that's when the
testify
war
briefly,
went
if I may.
slightly almost nuclear
Mr. Testa, have you been sworn?
in Iran.
Yes, sir.
And, hold the microphone a little closer. State your full name
David Paul Testa Jr.,
and where do you live?
20523
Well,
Leitersburg.
we're going to talk over that.
You
So
also own a business property there?
I do, right next door to it.
may he be covered in light.
You lease that property?
Cover that man in light. Seems like he's doing a good job.
Lease the property behind it.
Yes, no, you own the business now and the property.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, excuse me. And you're proposing to subdivide and purchase 3 acres?
Yes, sir.
Is that as shown on the drawing that's been submitted into evidence?
Yes, sir.
There's something backwards in America where
What brought you to this point of?
people like this have to come in with all their cards out.
The business expanded.
Explain the expansion, explain the success that you've had.
It's been phenomenal. I appreciate the area and everything that it's given us.
What types of customers do you have in the community?
Man, all kinds.
Some of them serve the agricultural and rural communities.
Oh, he doesn't know it.
Um,
I'm
and,
crying because it's just
If you're able
these
to
are the
get this
types of
property
people that
rezoned, is it
they're
your
going to try and
intent
put a
to subdivide it
concentration
and
camp near.
purchase it?
Yes, sir.
Has there been any opposition from any of your neighbors?
Nope, I don't believe so.
Does Mr. Schroyer support this rezoning?
Absolutely.
You planning any new buildings or structures at the present time?
At the present time, no.
This lawyer was probably just like, say yes, no, yes, no. Let's get through this.
I think that's all we need to put into the
Yep.
record.
Good lawyer right there.
Yes, sir.
Just let him do his job and leave him the fuck alone.
Okay.
Cover him with light.
So
Let's
did-
cover this man with light.
We
Cover
will
his
now
business
open
with light.
the hearing for public comment. Please come forward as your name is called.
Unless somebody in the public
First on the
comments is
list
like,
is,
fuck this guy.
Curtis
I
Ray.
don't feel that. I got good cards here. And these are the type of people that are trying to put these concentration camps around. Okay. Cute. Real cute.
Hello, I'm Curtis Ray. I live in Hagerstown, Maryland. I think this is a good idea to allow.
Wait, there's an
Can
objection.
you stop my time real quick? What?
Mr. Watts, the record will be noted that of your objection. Thank you.
Why is there an
I need
objection?
like 10 seconds, if you don't mind.
You may proceed.
All right. So I want to say that I am actually for the rezoning. And the reason being is, as people that have owned small businesses, you understand that it is extremely hard to acquire any form of real estate at a decent price. And then on top of that, they're already an established business. Who wants to leave your roots to go buy a commercial property or a heavy industrial property or any industrial property just to move what you already have? I think it's a good idea to allow the rezoning, and these small businesses are our lifeblood. Most small businesses do not have the capital to just go out and acquire massive amounts of real estate. Or
You know
have that
who
type of
did? The
liquidity
federal
to buy them.
government.
And because of that, I would say I'm a very large advocate for this. I think you should do it. There's no real reason not to, and it would make business a lot easier for the individual that's going for the acquisition of it. And then on another note, I also think you guys need to kind of address the fact that utilities are getting outrageous in the county. There's no reason that you guys should not have made a
say
proclamation
it's-
about it. People are drowning in their electrical
Yeah, they're gonna
bills.
say it's
They're
not
drowning in
going.
their wastewater bills.
Mr.
Their
Ray,
water bills.
Mr. Ray, you've gotten off topic here. We understand you're for this applicant.
Will they allow
We're
public
not going
comment
to
for
get into
that
a
kind of stuff?
discussion about utilities and other
No.
things that are.
They're not going to do that.
Mr. Ray, I'm going to ask you to step away from the microphone. Please turn the microphone off.
I'm not laughing at this guy.
Mr. Ray, you're out of order. I'm going to ask you one more time to step away from the microphone.
I'm not laughing at the dude. I'm just like, this
I'm going to ask
commission.
you to leave. Deputy, I'm going to ask Mr. Ray to leave the podium.
Yeah, people are asking. I'm back on there. Deport the commissioners. All concerns are valid. Our children going to be held at the processing center. They're calling it a processing center now. It's a detention center. They're saying like people won't be there past a week. I don't believe them. Look at Dilly. You can hear protesters outside.
Okay, next on the list is Sean Porter.
Do I have to state my name for the record?
Please.
Oh, these guys are like,
My name is Sean Porter.
he's not here to talk about.
Noted,
He's
Mr.
like
Watts, thank you.
He's like a TikTok dude.
Understand why I don't have standing to make a public comment about rezoning in Washington County. Could you please clarify why you're objecting to me?
He could do a lot better than what he does. Because he tried to go after my friend and her kid, but he really put his energy towards something like better. He could be
Okay, well, anyhow.
a good leader.
Yeah, I'm for this. I actually have, I believe, visited the trailer dealership in question. I think that it is a great fucking location for trailers, and they should be able to expand their operation. I don't see why the government should say no in this case. I also think that we, like the previous speaker, should in fact bring back public comment and should investigate your child molestation allegations to the fullest.
Okay, Mr. Porter, I'm going
The
to ask you to step
president
away from the
board
microphone.
allegedly is like
You,
one of the
your comments, no, you're
brings
finished.
it up and they won't like ever question
No,
it.
Cut me off preemptively.
You've
They
been
won't ever
warned, Mr.
question
Porter.
it.
When was I warned? It's on record that I wasn't warned. I was objected to by Mr. Watts over here. So
This
anyway,
is why they want to allow
back
public
on topic.
comment. It's
I'm gonna
against
ask you-
they don't want it to
No,
get out of hand, but if you don't,
You're finished. I said,
I can't hear
if you
you.
want things to
Mr.
not get out of
Presiding
hand,
Officer,
you should
I
allow
said you are
public
finished.
comment.
Please step away from the microphone.
You
need
were
to ask
supposed
him
to
to
warn me
leave.
first, and you
I
didn't.
need-
So you can't do that. You have to let me get back on topic.
You can-
Back to the zoning.
You continue to argue with me. I'm going to ask you to leave the chambers.
Would benefit greatly from this
Deputy,
zoning map amendment change. What, you're gonna cut me off?
you have been cut off.
I have not been cut off. I'm standing here talking. Obviously, I'm not cut off.
Ask the
The Earth Guardians
I'm
are
going to ask
back.
you one more time, very
table.
politely,
You already asked him to leave.
to leave.
Okay, so back to the zoning
Leave.
map amendment.
Turn the microphone on.
It is off. What was that? Who did? You're telling me you give me a lawful order? Will I get arrested if I ignore your lawful order? My God, the tyranny.
This is the Star Nursery, the Ace of Cups. I asked for recommendations on like why in the hell am I all. It is all about love on this planet.
Okay.
But
That
dear Lord,
concludes the public hearing and, I'm sorry? Okay, thank you, sir.
they're gonna give you a reason.
That does conclude the public hearing. Commissioners, your comments and thoughts. Oh,
There's
okay, I'm
something
sorry.
being activated today, but we're not gonna know. And this is
Sorry,
just
Commissioners, just a
energy
quick
on the-
clarification. This next portion is if the commissioners have any questions for staff or applicant prior to deliberation.
None for me.
I have no questions.
No question.
Okay. I'm sorry, got a little unnerved there.
Close the hearing.
Well, he's accusing you of some big stuff, and nobody ever
Okay, now the
questions
public
you,
hearing
bro.
is concluded. Recommendations?
Motion to support.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second for support. You're ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 4-0. Thank
I know
you.
they went off topic, so I don't know where they're at.
Congratulations, and the best to your business.
It is 9:51. Where are they supposed to be at? Something about golf courses.
Sorry, President Barr, just a quick note of clarification. There will be a written decision brought back for formal adoption by the board at a later date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get my bearings here straight. Next up, under tab 2, is the American Red Cross Month proclamation. And I think we have some folks here from Red Cross.
Oh, they're doing a lot of proclamations for things. I'm going to keep it on low. And I'm going to talk about
Thank you, commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity.
Project
to,
Saltbox.
appear
Okay, so
before you
Project
today,
Saltbox is on
which
Substack.
Red Cross Month. Our American Red Cross was founded.
And
almost
Project
150
Saltbox
years
is on
ago in
Substack. They're doing more
1881.
like
Our local chapter here
the
in Washington
news
County
of
was
this
founded,
particular
as
warehouse.
many chapters
They're
were,
also looking
during the
across the
First
country,
World
but they
War
are
when
very
the
much
United
like
States
geared
entered
towards
that war
Baltimore,
in
and then they
1917.
kind of looked out at
This meeting was at the
Hagerstown
Maryland Theater when it was still a
and throughout
Baltimore
Maryland,
theater.
and it
Since
was
that
released.
time,
And
we've
I
continued
originally
to
saw the
grow and
email
expand.
through
And
Hagerstown Rapid
now
Response
we, in addition to
that these
Washington
commissioners that
County,
are speaking right now
include a 12-county
requested
chapter area. Many chapters
$381
change
million.
name from the Washington County chapter
That's
to the Greater
that's what a
Shenandoah
Maryland
Valley
County
chapter.
wanted for
Here's the
supporting
northernmost
an
part of the
ICE
chapter with their service
warehouse.
center out on the east end of town off Eastern
So
Boulevard near
what came
CRS
out
Conrad Court.
was this
We also have
email,
a large service center down in Winchester, Virginia.
and
Service the Panhandle
it's
of West
interesting
Virginia
because
and
one of the
both Shenandoah
commissioners
valleys,
that
Shenandoah,
resigned,
Gray,
I
and Woodstock,
believe,
Virginia,
don't quote me
are
here,
those
was
rivers
still on the
that
board
in
when all
West
of this went
Virginia
down.
to
He
Mobile
resigned and
the
he
South
worked under
Branch
the Trump
of the
administration.
Potomac and Romney over there.
So
Our chapter
this is
continues to
part of the
provide great
email,
service here
and
in
I'll
the
read it.
area.
You can
We
read
really
the
just
full
appreciate the
article
opportunity to
on
be here.
Project
Mount Martin, Vice Chair of
saltbox.com
the chapter, so that's
through
why
their
I'm here
Substack.
today. And with me is Gianna
Interstate
Cortez. She's one of
81
our board
lane
members, and
widening.
we're just so fortunate to have
Maryland
two
has
great volunteers,
12.5
both on our
miles
board,
of Interstate
our
81,
services, our disaster
I-81,
action teams
and
that
all
continue
of
to respond to
12.5
both
miles are
local
located
fires as
on
well as
in Washington
natural
County.
disasters. So we appreciate the
I-81 is
opportunity
part
to
of the Federal Transportation Network and will serve as the primary interstate access for this new ICE processing facility. Now, I actually drove up there when we still had in Maryland something called Snow Creek. And there was like, I went over to the warehouse just to see it. And in order to divert out of the warehouse, I got stuck on I-81, which is an interstate as opposed to a more local Interstate 70. And I was like, this is a problem. There's something weird here. So they were diverting traffic. And my first thought was, you can transport people pretty much to any, basically this sets up something that I would consider, this is my opinion, not facts, allegedly, an HT situation. So now that I see this email come out, I'm like, girl, keep trusting your hunches, because I feel stupid just being here doing this every Tuesday and like saying what my intuition and hunches are. But I have to trust the fact that my deep intuition is on point. It might be before it happens, but it's on point. So I need to also say, I called this out on my videos weeks ago. And I do think that my question was, is part of this facility also connected to tunnels? Like if I were to go up to public forum
those great experiences.
I would be like,
and,
are there any
let her
confirmed
and
tunnels in the area?
help
I
find,
just want to
and
ask,
locate, missing
because I
soldiers
have questions
that she
about
ended up
this
going to Europe
based
and
on what I'm
1970s
observing
and met,
through the reports at
Henri
Dilley
Guiton,
Detention
who was the
Center
founder of the
that
International
are
Red Cross.
atrocious,
And for
especially
many years
related
after
to
that, then,
children's health
lobbied,
and
the
women's health
president
and their
US
safety.
Congress, to create
So
a
they
Red
go
Cross
forward
chapter
and
here in the
say for the
United
last
States.
25
First
years,
big thing
Washington
they got
County
involved in
has
was
been
shortly after that
unsuccessful
in,
at securing funding from the
1889,
Maryland
I
Department
believe,
of
the
Transportation
Major
to widen
Johnstown flood that,
I-81 from 4 lanes to 6
almost 3,000 people
lanes
lost their lives
to
in that.
address
Red
public
Cross has been
safety
involved in
issues
disaster relief
on
since that
this major
time,
freight
service to
corridor.
military families,
That is
and
something to
more
also
services
state that
as a
it is a
recent,
major freight
more recent
corridor.
thing
Where
that
do those
started during
freight
World War
shipments
II
come
to
from?
make sure that our
Boats.
communities had an adequate blood supply.
I-81 is a critical
I'm
federal,
deeply honored to be
generally,
here
allegedly,
this morning
potentially,
to
and
accept the
trains.
proclamation from my fellow
I-81 is a
commissioners.
critical
It would
federal
be inappropriate
interstate
if I didn't
highway
mention
that
my
spans
father
from
for years
Tennessee
was
to New York,
quite
aiding
involved
commerce in the
with the Red
region
Cross. He was
and
president,
throughout the
chairman of the
East
board
Coast.
numerous
We
times.
ask you to help
He did all the
facilitate the
training for
allocation
disaster relief.
of Federal Department of
My sister
Transportation
Julie
funding,
was executive
and their
director locally
range
for
is from
35
$300 to
years.
Yes.
$350 million to ensure that this critical safety
She's the
improvement
longest I'm
to
aware of. I
Federal
know
Interstate
I started as a
81
volunteer,
in
and I
Washington
believe this
County
summer it'll
becomes
probably
a
be 50
reality for
years.
the region
But
and our
Julie
community.
was I remember
Please
her
let
right
me
out of
know
college as a social worker, and then
if you
leads
need
me to being the
additional
executive
information
director,
and would be
just was
best
instrumental in doing so much
and
both
who
in our
would be
county and
the
throughout
best
the
person to
region.
contact regarding this project at the county's needs. And then it highlighted is we look forward to partnering and working with DHS on this endeavor and welcome the opportunity to host a future meet and greet with the Trump administration. Now, there is another email where they formally invite President Trump, and they formally invite JD Vance. But to me, my spidey sense is like, okay, this is not just about this highway. And I'll leave it there. So now they're giving people Red Cross
As they provide a beacon of hope
recognition.
for our neighbors in need through their voluntary and selfless contributions. They make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours, whether it is delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers throughout the unique challenges of service, saving lives with first aid,
do get in
CPR, and other skills.
Fights on these
delivering aid and
chats, and you just said quiet piggy to
reconnecting
somebody.
loved ones separated by global crisis.
Excellent.
And whereas the Red Cross assists families
It's like, what the fuck,
impacted
Paul?
by disasters such as a home fire or flood, installs free smoke alarms, making homes safer, educates students in
It's
preparedness
just a question I
education,
have.
collects blood at local drives,
Obviously, if
and
you want to
provides
read
services to our
everything,
military
go to
members,
Project
veterans,
Saltbox or
and their
Hagerstown
families.
Rapid
Therefore,
Response.
we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County,
I'm
Maryland,
just a
hereby
tarot
recognize
reader.
the month of March as
Ace of
American Red
Swords,
Cross
Ace of
Month in honor of
Activations, pineal
all those
gland.
who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this
Intuitively,
commitment to
it's about like clarity and
Thank you so
intuition.
much.
And I intuitively feel like it was just that guy that they had that was an intelligence guy. They put him on the board
Yes, and let
for
me
this
take a
deal.
moment. She's running actually
He
on
knew how to
time,
handle
Rick, I know
it.
you were running a little ahead. Let me introduce Deborah
He knew
Fleming,
how
our
to speak to
executive
the
director.
administration.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this week is a very creative week. That includes, we're going to see a lot of things politically that we're just like, what in the hell is going on?
To alleviate human suffering in the face of disasters. And it's really, I think you could be really proud of your community for having those 60 volunteers who not only help Washington County, but spread across county lines and state lines as well. Sorry, I'm out of breath. In Washington County alone, our volunteers have responded to 32 fires last year and have responded to 68 disaster operations. We provided
Again, this
over,
card comes through. It does feel like there's a lot,
1,608
like energetically, just in our
life-saving blood
being
collections,
that comes through
and
rest
have
this
provided
week.
over 101
Just being in
services to,
meditation and
military
quietly
We've
being
also
in
installed
energy, our own energy,
663 alarms in 69 homes, making 69 homes safer.
because we're watching
And
a shift
have trained over
in power.
2,250 people.
This
in
Board of
life-saving
Commissioners
skills.
is
These are the
one
volunteers that do
type
this,
of
and we just
man,
really appreciate you
one type of
recognizing them as
like
Employee Red Cross
homogenous
Month.
white man.
Thank you.
I don't think they care. And it's not really, it's not isolated to this particular county or this particular state. It's just, it's an energy, you know?
Let's redo the pictures in front of the flags.
Let me look at why Washington County is named Washington County. Lineage. Why is Washington County named? I'm just gonna look up. Washington County. For thousands of, this is from Wikipedia. For thousands of years, Native Americans inhabited the lands that would later form Washington County. Archaeological evidence suggests that an Iroquoian people known as the Susquehannock occupied the region around 1600. In early 17th century, England began to settle lands on the Chesapeake Bay to east of present-day Washington County. Contact between the Susquehannock and the English settlers was limited until English merchant William Claiborne from Virginia began trading with the Susquehannock in the 1630s. In 1634, England established the province of Maryland as an English colony with their founding of St. Mary's City
Okay,
to the
next item on the
southeast
agenda
of
under
present-day
tab 3 is
Washington
National
County.
Agricultural Day Proclamation.
English-Susquehannock relations then began to deteriorate as Maryland formed an alliance with the Piscataway people.
The director of
And
the
that's
Department
the
of
point of
Business and
rock when the
Economic
lightning
Development.
struck,
Kelsey Cadle,
who
Agricultural
were
Business
frequent
Commissioners.
target
We're here
of the
today to accept the proclamation
Susquehannock
recognizing and
raids.
honoring that
The
today is
founding
National
of the
Agriculture Day.
province
Agriculture
also
remains one
disrupted
of
the
Washington
trade
County's
alliance
most
with
historic,
Claiborne,
diverse, and
as he
economically
refused to
significant
acknowledge
industries,
Maryland's
supporting our
authority.
local
In
economy,
1641, the
strengthening food
governor
security
of
for our
Maryland
citizens, and
declared the
sustaining the rural
Susquehannock
character that defines our
enemies of
community.
the province, and the
Today, we want to honor
Susquehannock
our
raids on
agriculture community,
Maryland
our
and the
farms,
Piscataway
agribusinesses,
continued
and farm families
intermittently
who
until
produce the food we
1652.
rely on every day and operate a thriving industry in Washington County.
I'm
While
just,
the farms of
why did they
Washington
name it
County
after
are beautiful
Washington
and
though?
literally nationally award winning, they are not just for show.
So there was
Our
like an
farms are businesses
acquisition,
too, and they
and in
play a
winter of
vital role in the county's
1652,
economic
the
success.
Susquehannock were
I'd like to
attacked by the
thank Kelsey Cadle,
Mohawk,
our
and
agriculture
also
business
the
specialist, for
attack
her
was
exceptional work and
repulsed. It
leadership
led
in
the
promoting and
Susquehannock
supporting
negotiating
Washington
the
County's farming
Articles of
community.
Peace and
Kelsey is
Friendship
currently
with
spending much
Maryland.
of her time
I feel like in
working
my
with our
crown
state and
chakra I need to
federal
read
agriculture
this.
partners
The
to ensure
Susquehannock
that future
relinquished their
legislation
claim
is
to the
created to bolster
territory
and protect
on
our
either
farm
side of the
operations.
Chesapeake Bay.
And
I
finally,
wonder,
I'd like to mention and
and
thank and
reestablished
recognize
their
Chris
order
Balls, our
trading
county's land
relationship with the
preservation planner.
English.
Chris works to create the
Okay.
balance between strengthening agriculture businesses and preserving our working landscapes through the county's ongoing land preservation efforts. Thank you for supporting our department's efforts and for recognizing today as National Agriculture Day with this proclamation.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do and the support of the farmers throughout our community. We're quite well known in Washington County, particularly for our dairy farms, but there's all kinds of farms, so.
Thank you.
It's a farming community.
Quite well. We do have a proclamation. Anybody have any?
Even near the
volunteers?
warehouse, there is Purina Mill and Tractor Supply. No, not a tractor supply like plant, like a, or a mill.
Proclamation National Agriculture Day. Whereas agriculture remains one of Washington County's most historic, diverse, and economically significant industries, providing essential products. And National Agriculture Day serves as an annual opportunity to recognize and celebrate the contributions of farmers, agribusinesses, producers, educators, and agriculture-related organizations across the nation. And the Board of County Commissioners recognizes the agricultural community for continuing to strengthen our local economy, support food security, and preserve the working landscapes that make our community unique. Washington County Department of Business and Economic Development is committed to supporting and advancing the agricultural industry and proudly recognizes the exceptional work and dedication of Kelsey Cadle, agricultural business specialist whose leadership, creativity, and community-focused efforts have significantly enhanced agricultural promotion,
The one that
strengthened stakeholder engagement, and
I want to look at is this highway budget, but
we, the
it
Board of
doesn't
County
look like they're
Commissioners
going
of
to talk
Washington
about
County,
it
Maryland,
much.
hereby recognize March 24th,
So it looks like they're just
2026
passing
as
something,
National
and they're probably all going to
Agricultural
pass it.
Day, and encourage all residents
So that's
to
what's
join
coming
in
up
the celebration
next.
and support our local farming operations. Awarded this 24th day of March 2026, signed by all the county commissioners.
And then they go for another hour.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And then it's just like a bunch of county things. There's nothing really related to the warehouse today that I can see, other than coming later on, which is, let me see if I can get back to 1. There we go.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
And then they go into closed session. So they're doing, where is it? For inmate phone service, inmate tablet, inmate visitation, inmate mail processing. But I don't know if that's part of it. So I don't know.
Okay, next up is under tab 4, FY27 highway budget. Gentlemen?
So here's where I want to hear this part, because it's this, that's part of Project Saltbox, and we'll see.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Zane Rao, Deputy Director of Highways.
We're here to review the proposed FY27 highway budget, which totals $15.1 million. As many of you know, the Highway Department is responsible for maintaining the county's road system, which includes patching, roadside mowing, ditch clearing, winter maintenance, line striping, pavement marking, signal maintenance. We also do fleet services for the county. So that's what we're here to talk about today, which is the operating budget. I think it's important to remember that the highway fund is a fund, and so there's revenues and expenses, and that on the revenue side, as many of you have been here before, we like to keep this at the forefront. The highway user fund used to predominantly be the mechanism by which this was paid for, and since 2009, that has no longer been the case. And the highway fund, again, is the share of state.
Something's happening with the collective awakening, so I don't think it's today, but I think
then
this is like a
distributed to the
piece of
counties and
this.
municipalities. And so since
And
that
the
reduction,
vortex.
it's predominantly
Something
been
about
funded
portals.
by the county general fund. And so each year we keep that as a priority at the state level to restore those funds in a more equitable manner. And so it's particularly important to remember because this is the last year for the current bill in Annapolis before there's a further reduction. So presently the county share is only 3.6%.
That's something, and I don't
of the
think it was
highway
just
user
for
revenues, and
Maryland.
that
I think it was a
totals
signal.
about 3.4 million of revenue.
This is return
And
to the
so at
mother
the end
tree.
of fiscal year 28, the share will drop to 1.5% if no action is taken. And again, bear in mind, the historical average used to be 15.3% was our share. So It is a big factor, of course, at the state level, and then how that
We're all
impacts us
connected.
locally with the funding necessary to maintain our roads. On the expense side, there's multiple categories that are outlined. So there's general operations, road maintenance, snow removal, storm damage, traffic control, and fleet maintenance. And so by and large, we're not really
Origins of
requesting any
light.
major line item increases other than
I'm
the
just asking
standard
for the collective right now.
for the
This is,
wages
I
relative
think,
to the
kind of like
COLA
the
step
downloads
and
that Earth
salary
is receiving,
decompression.
the
So I'll
grid
turn it over
line
to
of
Zane.
the
He's going to
Earth.
cover a few more
And there
points on
must
the
be a
expense
grid
side.
line
Real
in
quick, I'd
certain
like to thank the
areas.
staff for their assistance in coming up with a budget. We tried to stay conservative. Our operating was up 66,870 or 1.47%. Capital outlay was
Harmony. There's
up
like a harmonic upgrade.
7.57.
So I
And over
don't
half of
think
that,
this is
well,
related to ice. I will
73,000
be
is
back.
total.
I'm
Half of
going to leave
that
this live on while they're
goes to the
live.
upgrade of software for
I'm
3
going
of our
to
fueling
put
sites.
BRB on here.
And while I'm on the fueling situation, I wanted to give you an update on what we're paying now. For tanker delivery for gas is $2.79 a gallon, $4.48 for diesel. Last year at this time, we were at $2.12 for gas and $2.36 for tanker loads of diesel fuel. So going forward, that sort of worries me a little bit, what it's going to do when we start seeing, if and when we start seeing fuel charge added to our salt deliveries, material deliveries. I don't know how long these prices keep climbing. This morning I saw gas was $4 a gallon at Sheetz on Pennsylvania Avenue and $5.60 for diesel. I've heard in places it's over $6 for diesel. Somebody told me in Virginia over the weekend. So that's not good, as that keeps climbing and affects our overlay.
Never mind, I'm trapped.
So
okay.
With that, does anybody have any questions?
If you hear banging in the background, it's because my door is locked.
I had a discussion last week with some citizens about how
I'm not trapped.
why
I just
certain roads are selected over others. So there's a process on, I would say, the amount of traffic, wear and tear, and we do have a process in place to make sure it's fair on the roads that we.
Is there anything
Or
else?
you mean for overlay roads?
Overlay and the chip and seal.
I just
Both
think
brief,
that,
just
okay,
for
I'm
the
just
public.
going to go.
Engineering runs.
I'm going to stop sharing this. If you, okay. You know what? It's live. It's live. So, A, if you hear banging in the background, I am locked. I am locked. I film in a basement and there's a door. It's like a cellar door, and the cellar door has been locked, but I can go around. I'm not trapped in here. But I don't think listening to the whole county commissioner hearing is going to do any good right now with my energy. But what I do think we're going through are some earth upgrades. And I think part of this witnessing, this observing, not being in it, or being of it but not in it, observing but not being trapped in the energy, is one piece of this that's really important to kind of note. And it's definitely a time where I think we are leveling up. So the lightning that struck, I do think, was an indicator of whatever shift we were going on, whether people want to call this the new earth, whether we want to call it whatever. Obviously, we're watching around the world, global shifts, weather events, not, in the United States, there's insane weather. Hawaii is flooding. There's fires in Nebraska. There's, record heat in the western side of the United States, and then extremely, extreme blizzards. And then where I am in Maryland, we kind of got it all. We got it was like a smorgasbord of weather that we got. And when that lightning struck, the other day, the Super Bowl, I was like, pay attention to this. Now we have meteors. Who the hell knows? Are they intelligent beings? Is this the Bledsoe kind of observation of, when Iran, Israel, Iran, United States, the missile exchange? Is this part of it? Who knows? I do believe in angels. I trust. I've seen some things in the sky that I cannot explain. I'm still kind of trying really hard to explain it to myself. But I do trust that this is a time of shift. I do trust that this is going to be a big week ahead. I don't know my live schedule right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out as I go. I do readings. I do astrology. This particular situation with Maryland's DHS facility is an example of an old government shift. And I'm watching these men who don't realize what they're doing. I don't have anger for them. I don't think a lot of them on that board know really what's up. I think when you're a county commissioner, you're not expecting a literal member of intelligence. It's obviously a really cool thing. Oh my God, this member of intelligence is on our board. We've got somebody here. And then all of a sudden, these deals come through. It's more of a sign of this is a farm town who, as we hear on this meeting, is doing, agriculture day. Somebody's asking for zoning for their private business on their land. It's more to me an abusive move, especially yesterday. I had to kind of sit back and realize that the president used the war for oil bets. That's what he's doing. There are people getting rich off oil bets right now. And they're sending Marines, to not hopefully, but to be part of this week. I hope everybody is safe. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. And so I was really sitting here, trying to mentally digest last night that the president is basically playing oil bets on people's souls, children's souls, and having to sit with the spirituality of that, the anger that comes from people. When I open up any of my apps, people asking me for help with food and water for their kids in Palestine, people asking to not be homeless because they're getting kicked out of their housing situation, people saying, reporting abuse of children yet again at Dilley Detention Center. And it's not isolated to Dilley Detention Center. It is not isolated. And women coming up pregnant as if it's a medical diagnosis at these detention facilities. So it's a really scary thought that this is obviously in a lot of people's backyards right now, even New Jersey. You're not immune to this. You're not immune to this, New York, New Jersey. You're not immune. So it's just kind of, and Cuba being, without power. And I hate that term because Cubans are powerful. Cuba without electricity, people in hospitals dying because they can't be put on ventilators. And this is a collective awakening process. And we're going to see a lot of shit this week. We're going to see a lot because they're going to use Pluto to their advantage. I do believe in my heart of hearts that these politicians, these elites who use politicians as their pawns, because they're not the kings. Trump is a puppet. Trump is a puppet who is being used but also likes it because he's benefiting off of it. I do think that he doesn't care about the war in Iran at all. He does not care about the outcome. He does not care whether people die. He does not care. You know, these are not normal human soul beings. I don't necessarily know what Trump is, but I don't think he's all, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. So think of your question. I'm going to put all cards in. I'm going to shuffle really well. I kind of went off the handle, trying to open a basement door in the background so I could pee. And I was like, it's not going to happen. I'm just going to go live. I'm going to end the live. I'm a human woman. This is a live show. Trust Your Glitter with Kristy. Think of your question. Think of maybe a solution. Think of maybe something that you need to work with, whether it's long or short term, and I will answer. You got a guardian here. This is the waterfall, the priestess of earth guardians, and she is the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles does represent really being in that earthy energy. It is related to finances, business. This card does represent making decisions from a very grounded space. And there are solutions both financially and energetically. It makes me think of human design generator energy, where what lights your soul up allows you to move. So this is about taking impeccable care of your physical body this week and knowing that it is about step-by-step processes. Nothing's moving fast, but this is also related to spring. As you see, she has flowers around her. Now, it's interesting that it's waterfall and it's earth. So I think that the artist's take on this is you need water to help, you know, smooth that ground. I also kind of feel like we're going to see something with water and earth. So yes, we're seeing, for example, flooding in Hawaii, but we're going to have to really pay attention to water, earth. And then she has a little, what is it, a dragonfly on her crown, and dragonfly is connected from water to sky. So I do think that there's something related to still watching the sky, but also I'm going to continue to say watching the water. What's going on with water? What's going on with our illumination on whether it's like water laws or literally like these beings coming out of water? It's a live show. Okay. Healing heart pain. It is about the heart, but you've got to heal your heart pain. And before I went to sleep last night, I was like, in order to really understand what's going on, I've got to do a lot of heart wound healing, and it feels like a lot of us do. So this is like digging into what really, you know, hurt your heart and understanding that you can make it through anything. There's the Akashic tree, the shamanic tree, the celestial tree of the Akash. So I am not an expert on Akashic records, so maybe a little bit of research regarding what the Akashic records mean for you. I still have to continue to educate myself. I feel like I'm an infant right now. We are in spring season, so it's like, where can you learn and what can you learn about your history or lineage, even if it's your star tribe, your star seeds, where you come from. Lineage. I didn't even know that was the next card. What is your cosmic lineage? And I'll leave it there for today. And